across people who think the bigger the better kind of thing, and more bigger animals are more powerful animals. You couldn't be more wrong. Not to want to make you wrong, but you couldn't be more well, anyways, it's not like this. Like, for example, I have a lovely earthworm and also a ladybug, and boy, they are so powerful keeping me grounded when there is a situation where I have to be particularly grounded in order to do the work. They are right on, sitting literally on my head, and together they make a really great team to keep me grounded, so that I don't, because you do need stamina in shamanism, and you do need great stamina. You need great stamina at times, and endurance skills,
Yeah.
and also lots of patience, because sometimes you just have to wait what happens instead of just trying to rush along. So to have some helpers, no matter how small they are, sometimes the smaller, the more interesting, really, what they can do for you. And that could take us to a topic as in, how do I find out what my power animal is there for? What qualities my power animal has? And Jill, I'm sure you have a bit to say about that one.
Well, I have a couple things to say. One is it's not just the size, but it's also sort of right the reputation. I mean, if you've got a lion or a tiger or a cheetah, people love them. They think they're beautiful. They admire their speed and their agility and their prowess or whatever. My business is named after a groundhog, which is not most people's favorite animal. Even animal lovers, a lot of them have a hard time thinking a groundhog is cute, and anybody who gardens probably hates them. Um, but groundhog was very, very important for me, in grounding, literal grounding, and also showing me the way. Right? He burrowed, and I followed, and eventually that's how I became able to journey regularly. Um, so even if it is an earthworm, as a gardener, I happen to love earthworms, but I mean, even if it's something that people don't normally find impressive, or it's a skunk, or it's an animal that someone thinks is a pest, they all have their reasons for being, and they all have their gifts to bring us. And whichever one presents itself to you, that's the gift, that's the power, or the medicine, if you like, that you need at that moment, whether you recognize it or not. Um, and as far as I've got a number that work with me on different things. When I was younger, I used to do martial arts, and salmon used to be very important to me when I was having a belt test. Perseverance and endurance and all those sorts of things, and courage. You know,
Yes.
um, and I make my living mostly now as a writer, and my writing helping spirit is a grasshopper, and and that made no sense to me when we first started working together, but it makes a lot of sense now. Um, and there's also, again, with the sort of martial arts connection, I don't know if you had this show in Germany, and I'm almost not old enough to remember it, but there was a television show in the States in the late 60s, early 70s, and Patience Grasshopper was the what the older teacher always said to the young, eager student. Um, and that comes to my mind a lot when I'm getting frustrated that things aren't coming out the way that I want them to. So Grasshopper really makes sense for me as my writing helper. But yeah, we find different animals that do different things with us,
Absolutely.
and
And we
different
can
other
ask
teachers
them.
too.
Yeah, and we can ask them too to show me what qualities you bring to my life, you know. Sure, we can also look up things in that in natural, like biology books, or books on animals, but we can just very simply ask.
Yeah.
So just
Um,
show us, why are you in my life right now? What is it you bring into my life? And we might be very surprised because it might be things we never even would find in a book.
so I will tell a
So,
story about that. Um,
oh, go for
my
it.
my very first my very first shamanism workshop, one of the exercises that is very typical when you meet in person is that probably on the second day or maybe toward the end of the first, you partner up and you go and you try to find a power animal for your partner.
Yeah.
And I was not able to journey at all that first one, so I was already feeling guilty and nervous and whatever because I wasn't going to be able to get something for my partner. And she came back with an ostrich for me. And she happened to have been raised in South Africa. And she says, "Oh no, ostriches are great. They're very protective. They're very hyper vigilant. They're excellent mothers." And I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm not a parent. And I was really at that point in my life trying very hard to be more trusting, right? I felt like I was super self protective and closed off from everyone. And that was what I was working on in life. And this ostrich did not seem at all like what I wanted more of, right? So I went to Wikipedia and read about the habits of ostriches, and I learned that ostriches live cooperatively with many other animals on the savannah, like zebra and antelope. And I'm like, well, okay, I could use some of that. That sounds good. And then I went to Andrews is his last name. Was it Ted
Um,
Andrews, right? His
Ted
book.
Andrews. Yes.
Ted
Yeah.
Andrews' book about the spiritual meaning of various animals.
Yeah.
And he said that because the ostrich's neck is so long, that it is a conduit, a connection to higher wisdom, and I thought, okay, that's nice. I'll take that. And then on the second day of my class, our teacher, Nan Moss was the person who was teaching that class, and she said, be sure to visit your power animals and ask them what it is that they have to tell you. And it took me months before I could take enough of a journey to actually go and see the ostrich and ask her. And she said, I'm just here to remind you that it's fabulous to be unusual. And you know, so I did my due diligence. I looked for all the reasons why ostrich might have come to me, but she came to me for a very different reason, and it was something I needed to hear. You
Yeah.
know, that it's okay that you're a lawyer and you do this weird spiritual thing.
Yeah. But that's